It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. The Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the podcast in which we get to the heart of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom 1 minute at a time. I am Tom Taylor.
I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Gerald Christopher Marcus Porter.
I'm Pete the Retailer.
And this is your special guest, Alex Robinson from the Star Wars Minute.
Welcome back, you guys.
Thanks for
It's
having
very
us.
good to have you here.
Our pleasure.
If all of Indy's stuff is just Han's dream, then you guys are our dream. That was terrible. Sorry.
Thanks.
That'll be edited out.
That's kind of a Willie line.
Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody. That was terrible. We are here to talk about minute 12 of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And minute 12 begins with Short Round inviting Dr. Jones to hold on to his potatoes, and ends with Indiana Jones shooting out the back window of the car at Lao Che's men. And that's my first note. Potatoes. Potatoes.
Potatoes.
Hold on to your potatoes. I don't get it.
I don't want to cloud things, but this minute made me say to myself, oh, Christ, there are 2 Jar Jars in this movie.
You think Short Round is that bad? I assume you mean Short Round.
Yeah. Short Round and Indy.
Wow.
No, yeah, he has his moments. Not many of them, but he has his moments. And this is this whole kind of intro shtick. It grates me. There's something that I like in this minute, but overall, just the very beginning of it, I was just like, oh. And I pictured kind of Harrison Ford just kind of, falling into this literally, and just being like, oh, Jesus, what are they doing?
Yeah, it is a little, I like Short Round probably overall. I guess I like him. I do like him. I like him more than I like Willie. Although I've been saying that Willie, the last time I watched this, I liked her more than I remembered liking her since decades ago when I last saw this movie. But, yeah, this introduction of him is a little cute. I don't know. It's a little, there's a lot not to like, but we'll see.
Pete, can you actually save us from all this with some positivity?
Well, yeah. You guys inspired me with the Phantom Renaissance over on the Star Wars Minute. And I've sort of realized after a few recent viewings of Temple of Doom that I like Willie and Short Round a lot more than I remembered liking them. And neither of them is my problem with this movie.
Yeah.
Do you guys like him in The Goonies? Or is that, is it the actor or is it the character?
I like the idea of the character. We did an episode where we talked about the preview and the trailer and stuff. And if you just see him sort of out of context, I was like, oh, Indiana Jones is hanging out with a kid. That's kind of cool in a weird way. That could spin just right. And I think there are a lot of times where it does. I think I do like the character, and I think the actor's fine. And yeah, I think I remember liking him in The Goonies. But
I don't remember. I haven't seen it again for a long time either, but I don't remember disliking Short Round.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't at the time because it was perfect.
Yeah.
I was, I guess, 8 or 9 when this came out, and totally, at the time I was like, oh, it's awesome. But, rewatching it, maybe I just didn't watch it enough in between, that initial viewing and like kind of later, critical adult mind.
Inoculated yourself to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So now I go back and I'm like, ooh.
if you're a kid watching the movie like we were in the movie theater, you think to yourself, oh, hey, I'm in this.
Right.
Like I could be in this because you relate to the kid and then, by the end of the movie, I was like, I'm signing up for karate classes tomorrow. I mean, just because you see him do that and he's part of, you can't be Indiana Jones, but you can be him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to go too far afield, different franchises and stuff, but I had a similar thing. I know a lot of people hate Will Wheaton as Wesley Crusher in Next Generation, but when I was watching that, when it was on, it was kind of perfect kind of age range, and I felt like, I really found a lot to identify with there. And so this same thing, when I saw it in the movie in the theater, Temple of Doom, I was like all on board with Short Round, and especially like, he's very quotable. When you're a kid, it's all kind of, cutesy stuff that you can say, but going back in with adult colored glasses.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up Wesley Crusher, because I was kind of thinking of that too. That like, oh, cool, a kid on the Enterprise, that'll be awesome. But then in Execution, it's kind of like, well, he's not like a cool, geeky nerd guy, like inventing cool, crazy stuff and like kind of misanthropic and stuff, like and Short Round. But I don't know. I think, gosh, do I like Short Round better than Wesley Crusher? Maybe I do.
Rank
Is that okay?
sidekicks.
Yeah, I think that needs to be a Twitter poll. So you should post that the day this comes out.
Yeah,
I mean, today, this morning, later today.
We need a third one. We need a third sidekick to.
Who's a good third
Spritle
kid? What?
Who?
Wasn't that Spritle? Wasn't that the kid from Speed Racer who was always locked in the trunk?
Oh yeah, is that his name?
I don't know.
Weird.
Oh, wow.
How
And
about
the guy who hangs out with Chim Chim? That's all I remember.
Yeah, Spritle. Wow. I'll go with it. Sure, that's his name. Totally.
David
Does Robin
Spike.
count from Batman?
Well, he's kind of like the original teen sidekick.
Yeah.
I guess so.
He's too active, though. I think he's too much a part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think it's cool that they're mixing it up. They're giving Indiana Jones different guys to hang out with and stuff. I think that's cool, potentially.
Yeah.
I think my problem with Short Round is just that he exists. Like the fact that there's a kid sidekick. Like if there has to be a kid sidekick, I'm cool with Short Round. But I feel like that really dragged the movie down. Like just having a kid side, like you can't have a kid sidekick and Willie. It seems like you kind of got to choose.
Maybe
Two
that's
Jar Jars. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
yeah. See, I think maybe the reason I like him as much as I do is because it feels like a hugely dodged bullet. Like having a kid in this movie. Like once we kind of like get into this movie, we're like, oh, it's this kind of movie. Okay, they're going in this direction and stuff. And having a kid sidekick for Indiana Jones could have been super, super across the board bad and goofy. And I feel like it's not. I feel like it's
Mutt. What about Mutt?
Oh, Mutt. Is that our third? You just made Jerry very sad.
Yeah, where's our bell?
We're ringing the sad bell.
Yeah.
I think
I think
you just
that
did the
he's-
equivalent of saying Macbeth in a theater.
Yeah.
I think that he's acted well. Exactly what you said, Tom. Given the fact that's that's kind of a 4th and 28 scenario where you're like, we're going to have a kid as the sidekick, and he's going to be throughout the whole movie. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh my God, are we up against this again? This could go wrong all over.
Yeah.
Hell.
Do we know how early, like at what stage of the writing process Short Round shows up in? Because it could be maybe they went through and they threw in all this, I think notoriously they were both going through breakups and maybe they threw in all this kind of dark kind of, soul scraping stuff where they're just like, yeah, there'll be, zombie warriors and hearts ripping out. And then they went through and they're like, oh, we got to lighten this up a little bit. And it's like, oh, let's throw a kid in there.
Yeah.
I haven't heard about that early, like when they were still kind of going the Scottish haunted house thing. But he is the earliest draft I've read where it has a lot of scenes that did not make it into the movie. He's in there written pretty much exactly like he is with the same exact lines of dialogue.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was surprised, like reading that early script, that a lot of this, like I thought, was just Jonathan K. Kwan, but a lot of this was the actual script. Like his dialogue is written verbatim.
Yeah, we had that with Jar Jar too. It actually says "Muy muy, I love you." And it's like,
Oh my God.
Well, we have 2 Jar Jars, as was pointed out, but potentially, and it's hard to forgive one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though I think Short Round does a pretty decent job, all things considered, it's still, oof.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep my potatoes down.
Try to hold in your potatoes.
Yeah, I'm trying to hold in my. So,
Do you guys know what Short Round's deal is? Is he an orphan? Is he like what's this? Does he his parents wondering where he is this whole time?
No, I
Indy
think
murdered them.
what happened. The backstory is that his parents were killed in a Japanese bombing raid, and so Indy has sort of become his adoptive father.
When he's in town.
Yeah. Well,
When he
they never
needs 'em.
say, which kind of makes it's a weird backstory. Like, how long has Indy been raising this kid?
I think, did I not at some point read that it was something like, he was orphaned and on the streets and tried to kind of either pickpocket Indy or like steal something from him, and Indy kind of picked him up and saw his situation and basically adopted him.
They talk about it briefly in I think in the movie. He said he was trying to cheat him, pickpocket him.
I can hear people yelling at
But I
us
can't
online. Like we should know this. And a lot of people probably do.
Well,
But I can't remember-
a lot of this was discussed in it was Indiana Jones and the Flexible Flyer.
The mystery of the third wheel of the flexible
Yeah.
flyer.
Yeah, and the splinter in the mind's eye.
And I can't remember if it's in this scene or just in the script, but Indy talks about how he taught Short Round how to drive, and there are several scenes where he talks about teaching him stuff. So it makes it sound like he would have had to have been around for a while.
That's super weird.
What
Yeah.
happened to him?
He's supposed to be
Wow.
teaching school in America, isn't he? Like, just take entire semesters off to raise a kid.
Well, Willie says here there's a kid driving the car. So I have a question. Did anybody here did you guys ever drive before you actually had your license?
I think
I
I
barely
might have.
drove after I got my license.
Drive now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the New York. Well, I'm from just outside of the city proper, and I was supposed to kind of have driven a lot, I think, but I was behind the curve on that. That even really, I shouldn't have passed my road test. I wasn't really well experienced. I just had no urge to drive. But I know some people kind of who grew up in more of a car. I'm not going to say a car culture, but a car family
town.
maybe, or a car kind of town.
Yeah.
They're they've been driving since they were, especially in California. I think you can get your permit at like 15 or 14 or something like that now.
Yeah,
Yeah, 15 here, I think.
weird. It's scary.
I was just curious.
You brought up that line, and for some reason, it struck me as funny the way Billy says it. She almost sounds like she has like something stuck in her throat. She's like, "There's a kid driving a car." Has a weird like gargly quality to it.
I want you to do all of her lines in that voice.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I wish she talked like that the whole time. It would have been.
That sounded like Arthur.
Oh, wow.
Listen to the line when she says it. I'm not I'm barely exaggerating.
I know, I love it. Yeah, to take the spotlight off of Short Round for a second, put it back on Willie, to go back from Jar Jar number 1 to Jar Jar number 2, or vice versa. I went and I feel like we're piling on now too, but when I went back and rewatched this minute without, like, imagining it without Willie, and it was better. Like, there's nothing that she really brings to the scene.
She has
than-
brought confusion to every moment she's been in so far. Like and this is no, like, she's, and I keep feeling like I'm trying too hard to like be pedantic or something. Like, come on, it's an action movie, whatever. It's a fun romp, whatever. Just stop trying to be logical about it. But like, she knows that he needs the antidote. But then she goes through this whole like, oh, I'm not that kind of girl thing, because he's reaching into her dress and everything. Like, there's no logic going on here. I don't understand why she's saying that, because she knows what he's doing. She knows that he's not trying to, like, get fresh or something. He's trying to get the antidote out of her dress so he doesn't die of the poison that he drank. So it's I mean, it's almost like you can see the screenwriters saying, well, this would be funny if she misunderstood it, but she's not. Is she that stupid? Like, I don't know.
Or even if she was saying it to be funny, like if she was just like,
Yes.
like acting like, oh, I know, what he's doing, but I'm gonna crack wise just to
Slap
be a
his
jerk
hand.
about
It was like a Mae West kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she genuinely seems Like she's puzzled. Do
Right.
you think they didn't want to do another like strong independent woman after Marion, so they kind of had to go in the other direction of this like ditzy like.
You think they didn't want to do a strong character after all the ones that they used in the last movie?
It didn't work so well in the last one.
Well, we're talking about a dying man here.
Yeah. He's amazing. It's amazing that he's lasted this long.
And we're talking about our dying man.
Yeah. Come on,
That
doll.
just that made me imagine what if he did die and then the rest of the movie is just Short Round and Willie.
Wow. Maybe that's
Would
what
they keep
5
going
will
with the
be.
adventure, or would it be all about like them bringing his body to the coroner and identify it and having to ship it back to America?
Yeah.
And roadies there waiting and all that stuff. That would be great. Totally took a turn.
Right.
Well,
It's like a half-hour
I'm
movie.
Since we're here, I'd like to illuminate a disturbing ratio that I've noticed here in minute 12. We're already at 9 Willie screams to 1 Wilhelm scream.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's not fair.
At this rate, there's 90 more Willie screams to endure.
There's a behind the scenes kind of thing about this though that's interesting. Is apparently Kate Capshaw couldn't scream.
Really?
And Steven Spielberg was on the set every day making fun of her because she couldn't scream, so she would practice screaming over and over and over. And I honestly think Spielberg put some of these in just because he was kind of, flirtatiously teasing her.
Oh, that's cute.
You're bringing back Lego flashbacks again.
Maybe those are all her practices in the game. They just stuck them in there.
There is a very nice shot here, though, that maybe can bring us back to happier days. As Indy's fumbling around trying to get the antidote, you get a really nice shot of his Eye of Horus cufflinks.
Oh, you love those.
Ooh. I love
Yeah.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a nice shout out to Raiders.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Well, and I'd like to ask, so, here we are at the beginning. I'd like to ask Pete and Alex, do you know
Yes.
the just the tone of the movie, because we've kind of touched on this a little bit, the tone of the movie as far as an intro, and I'm not talking about the musical number, I'm talking about the dialogue scenes and the action. I mean, do you feel it's like wildly different than Raiders, or kind of similar in points?
It's hard to say because obviously if I was watching it had not knowing what was coming, it definitely feels a bit kind of cartoonier than Raiders did.
Yeah, well, there's a point later in the week, if you guys will keep having us back until we wear out our welcome. There's a point that I'll come back to and I'll reference this, but yeah, this current bit, don't get me wrong, I'm all on board with the musical number. I think that's terrific.
Yeah.
And it's a fun way to start it out. But then, this bit is goofy and, could be, Raider starts out a little bit, it's not goofy, it really kind of drops you into what you're doing. But, the way it has that kind of, not cold open, but I'm trying to think of a term for that kind of a thing where it's like, you kind of drop into, in media res, there's something going on and it kind of establishes some stuff. And then you get into the main adventure part. And it seems like this could be going that same route, but then I don't know. It does kind of continue a similar tone for
Yeah.
I mean, do you think it's just
most
like
of it.
they're more frivolous about it, or they're like, let's have some fun with this? Their parts of Raiders were really dark. I mean, I don't know. Do you think that they're like, we're just gonna have a good time and it's gonna be funnier? And
I think, but then it goes back and forth. I think maybe it was, one of them, maybe Spielberg kept saying like, let's make it more fun. And Lucas is like, death, doom.
Divorce.
yeah.
Because it does. It seems like it's, either hot or cold. Either it's, they're drinking blood or they're, like making goofy wisecracks like vaudeville.
Well, I wondered if, let's just say, for argument's sake, if Tom Selleck was on screen right now, would you feel that this was a completely different movie that had nothing to do with Raiders of the Lost Ark?
That's a
If
good
he was
question.
playing Willie,
Well, no, I'd be fine with that.
It works.
No, I just mean like if I don't know, the names were changed. It wasn't Harrison Ford. It wasn't called Indiana Jones. Would you be like, oh, that's clearly, the sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Right. Let's say it was Richard Chamberlain.
There you go.
No.
It does just have a whole different sheen to it. It's just like
Yeah.
it feels like it's from 1984. How about that?
Yeah.
Everything seems a bit broader. Like the villains are broader.
Yeah.
The slapsticks are broader. The wacky catchphrases and jokes. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
It just has a different kind of, and not necessarily in a bad way. I actually rather enjoy the opening. I think the whole. I think it's well done. It definitely sets the tone for a movie that is not just Raiders rehashed.
Right.
Right.
That would have been cool.
So-
Raiders rehashed. That would have been awesome.
Well, that's Last Crusade, so
Oh yeah,
he's still got that coming up. Don't worry.
I can't wait. I think
No Time for Love.
I was just gonna say no time for love. He comes up with
No.
potatoes, but he can't come up with a weird little snappy slang for love. No time for love.
Hanky Panky or something.
Yeah. That sounds super awkward coming from a kid. Maybe this movie's going to be awesome. This kid's going to be talking about making out and stuff, and it's going to be all edgy and weird.
Is that the most famous line from this movie?
No Time for Love.
I think it's become certainly top 10, top 5.
Yeah. This is
even-
what I think I hear the most.
What are the other lines that people? I can't even think of any other lines. For the
Exactly.
Fortune and Glory, kid. I don't know what,
Right, yeah.
Hold on, Shiva,
Well, that
hold on,
right
Shiva.
there, that's a problem.
Jerry
is
has
not
a
as
problem with the
quotable.
movie.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I guess that, I can't really think of any that are, you'd never say that about Raiders.
I actually disagree. There's at least one fantastic line in this movie, and maybe I shouldn't even say what it is.
Yeah, save it. I agree. There's some more good ones coming up.
No, there's some good lines. It's just they're less memorable or less.
Yeah, there are ones that I quote, but that doesn't mean they're popular.
Right.
Line.
right.
It's like those stupid things that you just pull out from watching a movie a million times,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily the one that's supposed to be quoted.
Right.
Well, and speaking of Raiders, when Short Round is actually crashing through the back streets of Shanghai, mowing down fruit carts, Chinese lanterns, and people's livelihood.
Fruit carts.
I feel like we've seen this before. Does anybody remember the truck plowing through the
It's
aqueduct?
exactly. Yeah, he's
Oh,
running up
yeah.
the ladders. That's exactly what I've written down. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, it's also every single chase scene ever in a city. You got your fruit carts, you got your, your
you got
mayhem.
your locals.
Yeah, you
your
got your-
locals
yeah.
getting into comical mishap.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the aqueduct scene was very specific.
And I think we discussed in that scene that Indy seemed like he was doing it purposely just for the sheer joy of like crashing into
Right.
this guy's aqueduct. And Short Round kind of seems to be doing the same thing. Like he seems
Right.
to be doing this for fun.
Indy's taught him
and
well.
He's
Yeah.
under Indy's tutelage. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I have a great question actually. In the preview, like the teaser preview that we talked about, like there was just like the map, and they're filming Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and they're in Sri Lanka, and they're in Hong Kong and stuff. Did they actually film this in Hong Kong? Do we know?
Yeah, they filmed it in Hong Kong and Macau.
See, I kind of
different
don't.
parts of this.
Was that a good expenditure of resources? Because there's nothing about this that says, "Oh, how authentic." They're actually in Hong Kong. This is
Yeah, a
great.
lot of this looks like they could have filmed this in San Francisco.
Although again, Lucas and Spielberg kind of both having kind of life changes and just being like, yeah, let's just go wherever. What are they going to say no to us?
Yeah. Write us a check. Be sweet.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah,
going to
it'll
Hong
come
Kong.
up in 2 minutes. They actually wanted to film on the Great Wall of China.
Oh, right.
Oh, really?
Not that great. So also we see Indy. This is kind of we see Indy drink the formula, the serum,
Yeah.
Antidote.
and we get the little when he drinks it. Do you guys have as much objection to that as you do to Short Round?
Well, at least his
scene
arms
coming in?
didn't get huge with anchor tattoos and
Right.
stuff. That's a plus. That was another bullet dodged. You see his.
It was kind of like a video game power.
I was gonna say his health bar goes all the way green, all the way to the left.
Yeah. I wanted to clarify something about Short Round's hat.
Yes.
Mhm. Giants hat?
Yeah, it's not a Yankees hat, as a lot of people seem to think. It's as a New York National League fan, I just wanted to clarify that it's a New York Giants hat. It's they wore it from 1919 to 29. This version. This is the road hat from that era, those 10 years. So, just for authenticity's sake, look at the little curved parts of the N and the Y. So that means it's not Yankees.
There you go. See,
That's what the NY stands for.
As
Not Yankees.
as a San Francisco Giants fan, I'm glad you pointed that out too.
There you go.
I don't know what you guys are talking about, but it sounds great.
Football.
Would
Lando's cape.
oh, thank you. Now I get it. Would these caps have made it over to Asia? Like, was like American baseball at all followed over there? Would you think this was brought over by Indy or something as a gift for Short Round, or how do you get this hat?
It gets weird if he brought this over as a gift.
He
little
may
bit.
have,
Like,
because what?
Is he expecting to, like, if he's been, I guess, how long has Short Round been in his care?
Maybe
Yeah,
he
what
actually
year is
full on
this?
adopted him. Maybe he's like, oh, I'm going to go pick up my kid. I'm going to bring him a hat. Little American, symbol of love and fatherhood. I'm going to get off on the right foot.
Is he is he in his care?
Barely.
You sort of get that impression later on in this movie, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's not clear.
It is.
Things
I
were
mean, I don't-
less official then. So, he could have
Yeah.
maybe just putting a hat on him means that was his.
Dibs.
I mean, I kind of want to be like, hey, come here, Short Round. You got to get away from this guy.
Yeah. Blink twice
I
if
think
you're in trouble.
I think people were a lot more accepting of like street urchins and
Right.
like homeless kids back then.
Oh, they wrote entire
Just
musicals
'cause-
about him.
Yeah, so I think I don't picture him like living with Indiana Jones. I'm sure Indiana Jones is just like, oh, you did a good job, Shorty. Here's $5, and then he's like, thank you, Dr. Jones, and he leaves. And then like, every now and then if he needs information or something,
Yeah.
like they kind of just have like a work.
Yeah.
It's just like Sala or any one of his other like contacts and stuff. So.
Right.
Well, but,
So
by
you
the
don't
way,
think
that-
Indy
that-
made his breakfast this morning? Like he made his lunch and put it in a little paper bag this
Oh
morning?
no, he did that. Well, he does that for Sala too, so that's not unusual.
That exact scene happens, by the way. What you just said, like, oh, here he gives him $5. He's like, thank you, Dr. Jones. Happens.
Yeah.
Like 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh, my God. Well, is that all we have for minute 12?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That's all I have.
We got
I
more of
had
this stuff
one
tomorrow.
thing- At some point, I saw that Short Round would be 90 right now.
Wow. And he still has the hat. He never let it go. It's got in a little box.
He never got married.
No.
He had no time for love.
Hmm.
No time for potatoes. Um.
Held on to him for too long.
Yeah, really. Now they're disgusting. Pete Mummert, the Pete from this show. Where can people tell us about their potatoes? I don't know what that means. That's awful.
You can find us on Facebook. Just look up Indiana Jones, and we have a special kind of discussion group on Facebook called Indiana Jones Minute and the Listeners Crusade. And everybody here on this podcast today is a member, so come join.
Yeah. Chat with all of us.
We're all there.
Yeah. We've seen you. And guys, I hope you can come back tomorrow. You too, Pete
That's
and
the
Alex. We would love it.
And where can they find you guys?
Oh, yeah.
StarWarsMinute.com.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you need to know.
The mightiest
Find
podcast
us.
that ever was.
Knee deep in Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
Yep. And you guys were Indy to our Willie, or to our Short Round.
Yes.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Thanks for the hat.
Yeah.
Confused by that for a second, but as long as we're the indie, I'm okay with it.
You strapped boxes to our feet and taught us to drive. It was great. Thank you. But everybody, please come back here tomorrow for minute 13 of Temple of Doom here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Oh, I hope you choke.
Hold on to your potatoes.